So, good day everyone. I'm here Micaela Villacerto together with my group mates to give you a report about the technology and assessment integrity. Now, let's proceed to the National Learning Platforms and Tools in the Philippines. DepEd Commons, an online platform for public school teachers to support distance learning modalities to continue the delivery of basic education. DepEd Radio, educational program broadcasted on 162 radio stations nationwide to provide lessons to all students. DepEd Channel or DepEd TV Channel, lessons broadcasted on 207 television channels to all students across the country. Next is distance learning. In a broad sense, distance learning is often synonymous with online learning, e-learning, correspondence education, remote studies, flexible learning, and the massive open of online courses. Main distance learning models. According to the UNESCO-UNICEF World Bank Survey on National Education Response to COVID-19, School Closure 10 multiple solution has been used to ensure that learning can continue off-site during the pandemic, including online, TV-based, radio-based, and print-based learning. The first round of data collection from 122 countries has revealed that the selection of distance learning solution vary according to region and income level, while online learning tends to be the most widely adopted distance learning solution in upper, middle, and high-income countries. Low-income countries relied relatively more on TV and radio. Next is online distance learning. Given the social distancing measures during the pandemic, teachers can carry out online teaching at home when there are reliable devices and connectivity. Online distance learning can be done at any time or place, provided learners have access to the internet. Next is the three main categories of online distance learning. First is the platform-based learning. Second is the teacher-directed live streaming. Third is the video-based flipped learning. First is the platform-based. Online teaching and learning is supported by integrated web-based platforms which can be national, private, or institutional, and may or may not have login credential. Next is the teacher-directed live streamed. Lessons are carried out via live conferencing application where teachers and learners interact synchronously. And last, for the three main categories of online distance learning is the video-based flipped learning. It involves online video lessons that are pre-recorded and uploaded by teachers followed by interactive tutorials and live conferencing. Now let's move on to the TV-based learning. What is TV-based learning? TV-based learning is that TV programs can present conceptual information in concrete ways using real-world environments. Analog and digital TV is generally used in areas which students lack network connection and or devices. Next is the radio-based learning. Radio is one of the most affordable educational technologies in many countries like TV. It can also reach a large share of the students' population. Both interactive and one-way radio can be used to support learning. Next is the print-based learning. Print-based learning is an offline distance learning models making use of textbooks, guidebooks, and reading lists. This model can be useful in settings with limited technology. A key challenge is how to distribute the materials. Letters and phones can be used as supportive tools to augment print-based learning. In this kind of learning, teachers play a relatively small role, which means learners are expected to be strongly self-motivated. For the next slides, Miss Angelica M. Rubang will explain it to us.
A special context of home-based distance learning under COVID-19 school closure. Moving the educational experience from schools to the home leads to physical and psychological disconnections between teacher and student. As well as among students, in this new context, learners gain autonomy and the teacher lose direct control and supervision. Parents are often entrusted with supporting and navigating children through the new forms of study, which might include the use of new technologies. Home-based distance learners under COVID-19 school closure. Learners' self-regulation and autonomy should be taken into consideration when devising plans for distance learning and remote teaching. Pre-COVID-19 distance learning programs mainly targeted adult learners with self-regulation skills or young learners with human facilitator. During COVID-19, however, distance learning target learners at all stages. Thereby, 6 strategies can be used during school's closure to encourage these sorts of learning at home. 1. Scheduling times for both learning and playing with an appropriate balance between the two. Choosing learners or learning resources on demand. Inspiring study through play. Engaging in learning by self-monitoring. Nurturing learning ability with more frequent formative assessment. Being reflective on learning method. Common guiding principles. Education as a right. For many learners, the COVID-19 crisis has severely disrupted their access to education, such as learners may fall behind their peers and miss this sense of stability and normality that schools provide. Schools closure may disproportionately affect learners who already experience barriers accessing education or who are higher risk of being excluded. These may include disabled children and young asylum seekers, refugees, learners living in remote areas, and those whose families will have experiencing job cuts or precarious employment. Common guiding principles ensures equity and inclusions. Rapid response strategy should focus on enabling continuous learning without exacerbating existing educational and social inequalities. They should get the family input and outline to them how instruction will be delivered, share expectations with the adults supervising and the students, and conduct a need assessment to identify what resources of the family has or may require to facilitate access to instruction. Common guiding principle. Gender equality. Girls are twice as likely to be out of school, increases situation, and face greater barriers to education and vulnerabilities such as domestic or gender-based violence when not in school. 16 evidence from low and middle income countries show that parents gave girls access to digital technology at a later age than their male peers, and that their access more curtailed and monitored. Teacher can address gender equality and the design of online distance learning by removing barriers, acknowledge developing capabilities, and providing supports around safety.
Threefold effectiveness of distance learning. The effectiveness of distance learning amid the pandemic should be assessed based on 3 criteria: the access, engagement, and assessment for learning outcomes. The first is access. The first aspect of effectiveness is to ensure inclusive access to distance learning opportunities for all learners, especially for the most vulnerable groups. Teachers are at the forefront of determining whether Universal Designing for Learning or UDL are being implemented to ensure feedback on accessibility for learners with disabilities of learning difficulties. The second is engagement. The engagement of learners involve minimizing and interference of non-learning tasks such as logging in or waiting for an upload and maximizing time spent in active learning. The group discussion, peer assistance and assessment, and formative quizzes are effective pedagogical approaches. The last is assessment. Assessment is vital for helping teachers determine whether students have achieved and learning objectives, but it needs to be redefined in distance learning. It is more important to assess students in identifying their strengths and weaknesses and working toward overcoming obstacles. Designing and facilitating online platform-based distance learning. Teachers can use technology to deliver instruction and efficiently assess student learning. The teachers can create projects that are suitable for a laptop or computer with a larger screen. Organizing and monitoring online platform-based learning. Many online platforms have integrated learning management systems to monitor students and engagement and progress over time. The teachers must be able to master such as functionalities as well as design platform independent strategies and assess the effectiveness of learning activities. Formative assessment for online platform-based learning. Advice on how to monitor student engagement and progress over time include the following. Number 1 is assessment student learning. Create assignments, quizzes, polls, and snapshots in classes to track student progress. In this section, we offer suggestions and strategies for assessing student learning and performance, as well as method for communicating your expectation and performance criteria to students. Personalized learning experience. Create small groups within classes to foster student collaborations and discussions. It is an educational approach that seeks to tailor learning to each student's unique strength, need, skills, and interests. Find lesson plans and resources. Use the internet to find new learning resources. So each student is giving a learning plan based on what they already know and how they learn best. Build a professional learning community, PCL. Follow topics of interest within colleges and teachers from around the world. That appears to be self-evident, but if you want to create community that is all about learning and improving, bringing your colleges together to learn something is a good place to start. Reward positive student behavior. Can create personalized badges online and award them to students to post on their profiles so that they can become more motivated by seeing and displaying these rewards. Make the most teachers' dashboards. Make sure to allow the platform show cumulative personal and class level data. Example of class level information. This also provides resources to assist both new and experienced teachers in better assisting students throughout their learning journey. Mobilizing parents and caregivers to facilitate online platform-based learning. Parents are key in supporting and monitoring children's learning on national platforms. Designing learning activities to provoke higher order and critical thinking. Teachers can use technology to provoke higher order thinking, which goes beyond and memorization and observation of facts. As an example of higher order and critical thinking, could entail disguising facts from fiction, synthesizing and evaluating information, designing and conducting formative assessment for live streaming, lesson or video-based learning. Formative assessment is designed for the complex realities of the learning environment and the mix of relationships, social, academic, and cultural, that shape teachings and learning. Teachers who participate in these relationships observe and interpret information in real time, allowing them to make hundreds of decisions that no scripted curriculum can anticipate.
Good day to everyone. I am the last presenter of our group, and my part is about the 3 strategies can help teachers design and conduct formative assessment for live streaming and video-based lessons. Number 1, substitute performance tasks for traditional assessments. To mitigate concerns around technological limitations and potential cheating in a remote environment, consider replacing end-of-unit assessments with performance tasks. Performance tasks reflect the foundational standards of a unit and require students to demonstrate their thoughts processes as they solve problems or respond to prompts. Performance tasks ensure that students do not cheat and follow teachers to guide students toward mastery of essential course concept. Number 2, collect data over time. Formative assessment is an ongoing process, enabling teachers to collect evidence of learning over time. Teacher can ask students to submit reflective videos and photos of their progress to local web space or safe cloud space. Number 3, use digital tools wisely. In online distance learning, teachers can use digital tools to assign homework and provide feedback, and thus have a real-time understanding of students' academic progress. An example is Quizzes, a free tool that allows K-12 teachers to conduct formative assessment and is available in English, Spanish, French, Indonesian, Dutch, Polish, and Russian. Integrated blended learning in the post-COVID-19 era. During school closures, when distance learning programs were introduced, many teachers mastered the ability to conduct synchronous or asynchronous online teaching, utilize online learning resources, and or design and facilitate TV or radio-based learning. Retained teachers improve competencies to integrate technologies in pedagogical activities. In a broader context of school and home-based blended learning models, teacher competencies are very important in facilitating the integration of technology into pedagogy. The following 3 key elements should be considered. Number 1, teachers should be conscious of or able to identify the problems to be addressed so that the new vision of teaching and learn can be achieved. Number 2, teachers should understand the areas that technological solution can actually support and take advantage of them. Some platforms, for example, may only offer access to content, while other technological solutions may support instant feedback or group work. Number 3, teachers should keep up their improved competencies through training or informal supports groups to develop skills in further integrating technology and assessment integrity. Technology can be integrated into education in numerous ways, and the recent school closure have led to emerging best practices. It is therefore important for teachers to reflect on their practices and summarize what worked and did not work. Okay, that's all. Thank you for listening and watching. Stay safe and God bless.